want. And guess what? You're going to pay whatever I want you to pay for it.
Sure thing. You know, it's kind of like price gouging.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's highway robbery. You have no choice. You really want this. Guess what? Pay double for it. You know?
Yep.
And it's not right, man. It's just not right. Yeah. Super Radio Brothers Sports. I know a lot went on in the world of sports, and Trent is here to tell you all about it. And I might say something too. But go ahead, Trent. Super Radio Brothers Sports, what's going on this week?
You know, first of all, I got two things. One, that music always pumps me up. That's a great find, by the way. I don't know what it is.
I think that's Sharon's music.
Yeah, Sharon did a great job. You know, she's our illustrious and amazing producer. She does a great job.
Yeah,
okay?
all the videos you see on Super Radio Brother highlights and everything, she put all those together. So
yeah, you have to give credit. You got to give credit where credit's due. You know, and but
sometimes.
Anyway, what's that?
I said sometimes. Sometimes I don't want to give credit.
I know. I can
sometimes
tell.
You know, I just want to take all the credit for myself.
I know, you know, absolutely. Trust me, I've learned that firsthand.
Yeah.
But number
I'm taking
two,
credit for Trent's sports report right now, whatever he says. I told him to say it.
Yeah, take advantage. Yeah, you got exactly for this upcoming sports. Rich gave me all this. I'm just reading from a trend. What do they call that? A prompter.
This is the Rich prompter. You know.
The Rich prompter. That's what I'm. Okay. But anyway, hey, the what's going on in sports? There's a lot going on. Let's first of all, let's kind of talk. You know, since the theme is baseball. You know, if you're listening on Thursday, you got some games. Rich is New York Yankees, though. We're supposed to open up against the Boston Red Sox at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, but early Wednesday it was announced that game has been postponed until tomorrow, with it being Friday. If you're listening on late Wednesday night, early Thursday, Friday is when they'll play their first game. But something that I want to kind of stick with, since it's the opening day of baseball coming up, opening weekend, finally, I did not think we would ever get here. Just by the way, the future was not looking bright at all. As a matter of fact, it was very bleak coming into February and early March. Whenever they made that decision, I think it was like March 10th, they finally made the decision saying, hey, we're going to have baseball. March 18th, they started having spring training games. And before we know it, Rich, we're in April. Tomorrow is opening day for both of our teams. I cannot wait. Just want to ask you, from the beginning, we've seen spring training. You've had the chance to see some of the Yankee stars in their minor league system. There really a lot of things are different about the New York Yankees this year, especially with no Corey Kluber anymore. You got, you had a chance to go after Carlos Correa. You guys didn't quite get him. Your pitching is kind of, on paper, it's not, as high as good as it really has been in the past. So tell me, what do you expect from the Yankees this year?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, what I would say about Thursday's opening day being rained out, I actually like it. You know why, Trent?
Why?
Because one of the most annoying things to me when a baseball season starts is the first series. You'll get that game on Thursday, but then they'll take the day off Friday and then continue the series Saturday and Sunday.
The Rays did that 1 year.
And the reason why they do that is for this exact reason. Just in case the game gets rained out, we'll have opening day on Friday. So that's why they leave that day open the next day after opening day.
Shoot, opening day is always better on a Friday.
Yeah, and so to me, I hate having opening day, and you know how it is. You got opening day, you have baseball fever. I just saw the first game, and then especially if your team loses the first game, you can't wait to get game two. And this idea of, okay, I just got game one, now I got to wait till Saturday for game two, always annoys me. So the fact that I have to wait till Friday now is fine with me because I know I'm going to get Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
yeah, and you got the Yankees on prime time Sunday night. You got Sunday Night Baseball, the first Sunday Night Baseball edition
Yankees,
of the
Red
2022 season. Yankees Red Sox.
So
and the Red Sox look darn good on paper too. I would not take those guys lightly.
I mean, just look at the division. A lot of people will tell you the Toronto Blue Jays are the best team in the. Other than, let's forget about Baltimore. I think the Orioles themselves have forgotten about Baltimore because they're in that group of teams that aren't even spending $65 million on their roster this year. So you got a bunch of teams out, whether it's the Guardians.
You look at the Orioles, and then you look out at the AL West. You look at the Oakland A's. What are they doing trading Sean Manaea, one of their best pitchers ever?
Yeah. Some of these franchises, you should just scratch your head. Like, they're not spending any money. They're getting, it's really, you just got to wonder what's going on there. But you look at the other teams in the American League East. Yeah. Toronto looks amazing. The Rays are consistently good. And you got the Red Sox and the Yankees. And if you're a Yankee fan, you want to complain that they haven't made a lot of moves in the offseason. You can, but you can't necessarily say, they don't have the highest payroll in baseball, but compared to some of the teams we were just talking about, they're still spending over $250 million on their roster. So when I look at the Yankees, there are a couple of questions I have. Of course, the pitching staff. Is Severino? It feels like it's been years since the guy has pitched. And they're really going to need, since they didn't go out and sign any of these big pitchers, they're going to need Severino to come back and be a Cy Young level pitcher, a guy that you can count on to go out there and give you at least 30 starts, and give you 15 to 20 wins. Let me not get too crazy. Give me 15 wins, hopefully 10 to 15 wins, and away we go. But Severino is a big part of that. I think the other guys stink. I can't stand Montgomery. I really don't think the Yankee pitching is great. But the big question mark is Garrett Cole. There was a big drop in what he was able to do after they took away the spider attack, after the sticky stuff. All of a sudden, he was terrible second half of the season, gets smacked around in a wild card game against the Red Sox. And, the Yankees are $300 million deep in on this guy. So, he's supposed to be a Cy Young level pitcher, but, he's supposed to be the best pitcher in the American League. Is Garrett Cole really an ace? I think after losing the spider attack, he has a lot to prove this year. And if Garrett Cole cannot be a top pitcher, and I'm not talking about a guy that's going to go out there and give you innings. I'm talking about a guy that's going to go out there and be dominant, a guy that's going to give you 7-8 innings a start, a guy that's going to get over 200 strikeouts, a guy that's going to, give you close to 20 victories, a guy that's going to be a difference maker as far as winning a division and not winning a division, a guy that's going to give you more than 4 innings in a playoff game. So they need Garrett Cole to be that guy. As far as the lineup is, there's more question marks. They made some interesting moves here. They're convinced that this Volpe guy, is possibly the next Jeter in the minor leagues. So they didn't go after Story. They didn't go after Carlos Correa. So what do? You go out, you get Connor Falefa, and the guy has actually looked pretty good during the spring. You go out there and your answer at third base is a 37-year-old Josh Donaldson who, 6 years ago was an MVP candidate, no doubt. Is he that player anymore? Last year he had 25 home runs, but he also has a history of injury. So what is he going to give you? I love his attitude. I don't think you need to have an all-star at every position. You need pieces that fit. And I think that's what Cashman looked at this year. And, he's got to start producing himself. Yankees are in the middle of a World Series drought. That in the Bronx is unacceptable. It's unacceptable that the Yankees haven't won or been in a World Series since 2009, and Brian Cashman still has a job. So the moves that he makes has to start producing. And they have a $250 million payroll. It's World Series or bust, regardless what you say. With the Yankees and the other teams in the division. So a lot of people have a lot of things to prove here. I do like the pieces. I think it's possible, but guys have to stay healthy. So you have a question mark with Donaldson. You have a question mark with Garrett Cole. What's he going to be? The lineup is still gangbusters. You still got Aaron Judge in there. You still have Giancarlo Stanton, which regardless of what people say, had a huge end of the season last year. Had a big-time playoffs. he's a force. All right, that's a guy that's a force in the lineup. Rizzo's a pesky hitter. DJ LeMahieu, if he has a comeback year, can be one of the better hitters in all of baseball. You expect Gleyber Torres to at least come back to somewhat of the form of what he was 2 years ago. If he doesn't, that's another big failure by Brian Cashman and his big trade a couple of years ago with the Chicago Cubs and sending Chapman. I mean, you essentially got Gleyber Torres for nothing because you got Chapman back the next year. But still, Gleyber Torres is a big prospect, and he hit 37 home runs a couple of years ago. He's had back-to-back terrible years, but he has to come back and be the player that he was after a couple of down years. DJ LeMahieu had a down year last year. He has to come back and be what you expect on the back of the baseball card. So, Yankees have a lot of ability there, but they're relying on guys coming back and having bounce back seasons, and that's what you need guys to perform, which didn't happen last year. And that being said, they still made the wild card game. But you look at what went down on that roster last year, whether it was DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres, Garrett Cole, a lot of dudes making a lot of money didn't get the job done last year, and that's going to have to change this year if they're going to compete in a division that has, again, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Boston Red Sox, the Tampa Bay Rays, a lot of competition there. So the Yankees have pieces, but will those pieces perform to their ability? And if they don't this year, enough with this Brian Cashman. He needs to be done. Yankee rant over. You got me started on the Yankees, Trent. What can I tell you?
Well, I mean, I had to. They're one of the biggest teams in baseball. I had to talk a little bit about that. Speaking of the baseball, of course, we got several games. Of course, the Atlanta Braves will be waving their World Series banner at Truist Park in Atlanta tonight when they take on the rebuilding Cincinnati Reds. Of course, the Rays. You look at their first 7 games of the schedule. They begin with the Orioles and the A's. You should at least win both of those series. I would say, take at least 3 out of 4 from the Oakland Athletics, and you should be able to sweep Baltimore. Okay, Tampa Bay went 17-2 against Baltimore. No, I'm sorry, 18-1. They went 18-1 against Baltimore. Baltimore's got that in the back of their mind. But Rich, they don't have the pieces. I mean, yes, you got guys that have the opportunity to hit every now and then. But you look at the Orioles. They're in the mindset they are rebuilding. But then again, they're playing with house money. So if they win, they'll definitely. Any team wants to win, but I honestly think any team in the American League East should be able to take care of Baltimore. If you can't, then that's your issue.
Yeah, Baltimore's a joke, and that was definitely the difference in the division last year. Because when I look at it, I really feel like you have 4 evenly matched teams, and what the Rays were able to do was they were able to take care of business against a team like Baltimore in a way that no one else was able to. And in baseball, that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. So they were able to do that 18-1 against Baltimore. That was what won them the division for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So we got the Rays have an interesting schedule this year. It's they've got they don't have Austin Meadows anymore. A big Tampa Bay Rays news this week was Austin Meadows being to the Detroit Tigers for Isaac Paredes. Now, Meadows was an interesting player. Yes, he could hit home runs and he could have great at bats, but he also struck out a lot. And that's what I noticed about the Rays lately. Yes, their identity is still pitching and defense. That's what it's been since the franchise has started, and especially when Joe Madden was the manager of the Rays when he took them to the World Series back in 2008 when they lost to the Philadelphia Phillies in that World Series. But the pitching and defense, that's what the Rays live on. So if their pitching is good, if their defense is good, they're going to be in good shape. But you're not going to see any Rays starter this year really go 6, 7 innings. I mean, some you may not even see. You may see him get into the fourth, and then Kevin Cash likes to play this matchup game where you play this pitcher here, this pitcher there. This guy hits better against this guy, looks better against righties. This guy can't hit righties, so go in and kind of move the. So Kevin Cash is going to play matchup. So you're going to see, and a lot of times you're going to see this bullpen day kind of thing with the Rays, and other teams have adopted this too. You look at the New York Mets, Rich. You look at Jacob deGrom. DeGrom was supposed to start opening day for the Mets, but guess what? He's going to be missing time once again. You talk about a guy who's not been able to stay healthy. DeGrom, it seems like he's always injured. He did have Tommy John surgery, and he's just coming off of that. But he's not taking any chances with his shoulder. He pulled himself out of a spring training game here a week or so ago. But that's a tough blow if you're the New York Mets. Cause
I love it, Trent. And how about that? So the Mets, they get the DeGrom news. DeGrom's going to be out. Who knows for how long? Well, you take bets on when he's going to get back out there and pitch. But then you're like, well, we just spent all that money on Scherzer, and he'll start opening day. Well, guess what? Now Scherzer has a hamstring.
Yep.
You got to love it. All this talk about, the Mets with Cohn and all his money, the billionaire, richest owner in sports, gets the Mets, spends a ton of money. Right, and right away, you get DeGrom going down, and now Scherzer, who will start. He's just not going to start opening day. I think he's going to start the second game of the season for the Mets. But, hey, Scherzer's what, 37, 38 years old, and he's dealing with a hamstring. The season hasn't even started yet. That's not a good sign, man. That's not a good sign.
Well, and you're seeing more and more injuries like that because spring training was so rushed. I mean, you think about it. They crammed like 30 games within like a 3-week span with only 1 or 2 empty days.
Yeah, and that's not conducive to older players being successful. Those guys need to take their time, Trent.
Absolutely. No, like if you were playing and they did that, then you would be in the same boat as probably Max Scherzer or Jacob deGrom or something like that. I'm not saying you're old or anything, but
I thought I would be more in the situation of like a young Derek Jeter, a 1996 Derek Jeter. That's the
you could be, yeah.
The situation I would be in right now.
But anyway, kind of the last thing with sports, and of course you look at the NBA, the play-in tournament. That's next week, isn't it? The NBA season is finally coming to a close. It's hard to believe that we're almost midway through April already. Before we know it, next week we'll be midway through April. And, we got the NBA. The NBA playoffs are starting to heat up. The Golden State Warriors have kind of cooled off a little bit. It doesn't look like, Rich, if the Lakers keep playing the way they are, they may not even make the play-in tournament.
Well, the Lakers have been officially eliminated by the Phoenix Suns after losing to the Phoenix Suns earlier this week. So, and a lot of that, you had Anthony Davis come back here late in the season, but then LeBron went out with the ankle injury, and I believe the number is up to 7 since LeBron's been out. Lakers have lost 7 straight games, and then on Tuesday they were officially eliminated by the Phoenix Suns from the play-in tournament. They lost that game 121-110. Again, you didn't get an appearance from LeBron James in that game. You got 28 points from Russell Westbrook in a season that's been probably the toughest of his career. Anthony Davis, speaking about guys that can't stay healthy, that's a big reason why aside from the roster just not being constructed well, because obviously Westbrook is not a fit on the Lakers. He's kind of like I don't know how to say it, like a poor man's LeBron James. He basically has the same game LeBron does, just doesn't do it as well as LeBron does. To me, I didn't understand the idea of bringing in a Westbrook. If you got LeBron, you got Anthony Davis, you need guys that could shoot around them. You need guys that can shoot from long distance and let Davis and LeBron create. But they go out there, they get Westbrook. That didn't work out well, and here you go, 3 seasons into his Laker career. Now, granted, LeBron won a championship in the bubble, no doubt. LeBron, AD, they won a championship. So there's been, but look at it now, 3 seasons in LA, 2 of the 3 seasons, he's missed the playoffs, which is so weird, because There was a time when LeBron was in the East where every year, whether he was on Cleveland or on Miami, they were going to the finals every single year.
Absolutely.
Now he goes to the West, to the Lakers. 2 out of the 3 years he's there, misses the playoffs. So, I still think he's one of the great players of all time. That's not what I mean. I still think he's one of the great players in the world right now, is what I'm trying to say. But is he what he was, say, 5 years ago? It's hard to say because you have LeBron on a team surrounded by Hall of Famers who, granted, maybe aren't what they were 5 years ago themselves, whether you're talking about Carmelo Anthony or a Russell Westbrook, but still you have a LeBron-led LA Laker team with Carmelo, with Russell Westbrook, with Anthony Davis, even though Davis hardly played, that's missing the playoffs in a Western Conference that's not nearly as strong as the Eastern Conference is right now. So LeBron takes a big hit here as a GM, and it's hard to say as a player he does because you look at the numbers, they're so spectacular. But you really got to wonder what's going on out there in LA with the Lakers. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for the play-in tournament there. Excited to see what Phoenix has. The only thing really to watch here at the end in the Western Conference is, will the Mavericks or the Warriors get that third seed? They're going back and forth there. Half a game separates the Mavericks and the Warriors. So we'll see who gets the third seed in the West. And that's about it. The Suns have blown everybody out. Phoenix with a 63-16 record, 8 games better than the second seed Memphis Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies have been great this year, too. What a year they've had with Ja Morant, who himself has missed a lot of games to injury this year as well. I think Morant has missed 22 games this year, or 24 games. And one of the crazy things that really might be something to look at as we get to the playoffs here, the Grizzlies are a darn good team top to bottom. Without Morant in the lineup this year, they're 20-2. So this team is really a complete team, not just a product of their superstars. So, and the East is so strong. And you look at the Heat and the Celtics and the Bucks and the Sixers, those top 4 teams, it's really hard to say who you would consider a favorite going into the playoffs. But you don't want to be the team that has to face the Brooklyn Nets in the first round. The Nets right now have the 8th seed. They will be in the play-in tournament. If they survive, and all of a sudden you're the number 1 seed Miami Heat or the number 2 seed Boston Celtics, and you're staring at, even though, let's be honest, the Brooklyn Nets have had a historically bad defense this year, but still, you're the Heat and you're the Celtics,